I'm going to share it. So these are some different tools you're going to getting it. And also, if you have little time, then you will going to explore the things on the Microsoft as well. Okay, Microsoft management tools. I'm going to check it out. So this is the paid tools basically I'm talking about here. So you can going to be go as per you like it. Okay, this is hotspot.
Check out the,
Yeah, Monday and like okay or HubSpot, Smartsheet. Okay, so different things are together. And if you
okay.
require more on the same, then I'm going to doing it. Wait a
Yeah,
second.
I mean, I found a tool. I'll take a look at that. You don't need to do it now. I will find you a tool, better tool. Yeah.
Okay, no problem.
I sent you a text actually in the chat window, so you can take a look at that.
TOGAF ADM. Yeah, it is also in that you're also getting the tools from here as well. Yes, it's all TOGAF. Yes, it's good. Yeah, it's just very nice. So it's a visual things you will going to try and get. Yeah, and I'm talking about here, my dear friends. Wait a second. So it's not about talking, but we talking about some different tools. So wait a second. This is you going to getting like we discussed here is project management. And project management.
I think we stopped at phase three, or phase two, phase B, step two, or something like that. We stopped with that. Yeah.
Okay, so I will going to find out more things. Okay, don't worry about it. So in the
Okay.
project management, I have I think the number of tools I have used some time ago. So I will going to send to you once I going to
Okay.
find out. It will take little time. Okay,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I will going to provide the accessibility of the PMP. So if you have time, you can go for it. No problem. Okay,
Okay.
I don't want to waste too much time into the same. We will going further on the same. So I think we are in 108. We have done it. Phase B, I think. Yeah. Second, yes, we were discussed this one, business architecture, core entities and relationships. We discussed.
Okay.
Yes, we discussed in phase C. Yes. So, okay, so information systems architecture approach implementation. So I think we are here. We are here. 1, 2, 3. Wait a second.
Okay.
Okay, so we going to discuss about information systems architecture overview. So we discussed about some different. I will going to review. Okay, recap the little previous things so that you have on the time on the line. So information systems architecture objectives or business architecture outputs. So we are in the phase of the business architecture outputs. We have defined and embedded versions of architecture visions and phase deliverables. So statement of work, architecture work, validated business principles, goals, and business drives, architecture principles. So we discussed about some business processes, business rules, business data model, okay, and we business functions, business goals and objectives, organization structure. So we identify business locations and letting them into the business units. So organization structure, you already know that the different locations of the companies, organizations, and also the business units. Okay, different entity of a units like different departments. I'm talking about. Okay, like if you are working in an enterprise environment, we have different units of the departments or different business units. We can say that this is the purchase units, this is the sales unit, this is the different some units. Okay, so in the plant, in the manufacturing, on the production side, we have different business units, different power, different plants, locations, and everything. This is the structures we're going to be create so that once the person is going to the company and the plant or direction, okay, so he will going to check it out the structure where he going to go and who is going to be meet and who is the representative of the different department, business head requirement, okay, different department head, I can say that. So business goals and objectives, so they have enterprise and each business unit. So yes, suppose you are working in a company where the enterprise have some different business units. So the business goals and objectives have some different things, but the end of the motive is to getting the profit for the business. So you can set the goals and you can set the objectives for the different departments so that yes, they will go to do as per the work as per the business goals and objectives. So once we're talking about some business functions, so that a detailed structure approach. So we're talking about some business function edited recursive step involving successive decompositions of major function areas into sub-functions. So yes, so the different functions of the business and what are the sub-functions of the business and how you're going to be work in the sub-functions areas is really going to discuss. We have business services, so the services that are that the enterprise and each enterprise unit provides to its customers both internally and externally. So the matter of fact that if you're talking about some business services, we have different type of services. The customers, the internally or externally, how do you going to be apply all those things to the customers? So I would like to know from your side, you have some internal strategies and external strategies for the different type of customers. So how do you managing your business services from different part of the countries as per the locations? Because different locations and different customers, and you have the internal issues. Sometimes you have some external issues. So how do you going to be provide all those solution, or you can say that how do you the complex situations or complex circumstances will be there in different countries, different regions, and department wise. So how do you going to be resolve all those issues? Any ideas you would like to share to me, sir? So because I would like to say you are going to apply a what open a business for schooling sort of things. So you have find out some different internal and external issues, different regions of the countries. So how do you going to be uh, recover all those conditions and the different circumstances and overcome all those changes? So what modifications you going to be changing it? Any ideas? Any businesses?
So I mean, first of all, you need to do the business architecture as we talked about that in this session, right? That phase A is after setting uh, the vision, architecture, vision, and other things. Phase B, like you have to do the business modeling first, and then business scenarios. For example, like as you explained, right? Let's say if you are going to, so there are internal customers and external customers. Internal customer is your like HR and your own organization who consumes one of our services, and external means you have like actual school signing in from various locations. So your business architecture should define uh, 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 I mean, we have to create a business architecture in a way that it covers both internal and external customers, and it has like both roles and responsibilities for internal, and then the organization flow diagram, something like that, which will actually, so if there is an issue, how do I actually navigate through that issue, right? So that comes at a later point, but that's a business case, like how do I support this application?
Mhm.
And then the goals, and then the business scenarios. That's the detailed explanation, but not at a use case level. But it will tell like what are all the region we are covering, how do I expand regions, how do I actually do localization, all these things which will be covered in the business business architecture, business scenarios and modeling. And then how do I actually correlate all these things with my roles defined in my organization? Who is my CRM expert? Who is my ERP expert? How the information will flow through each and every case, right? So that's how we do.
Okay. Okay. So the matter of fact that if you have, first of all, if you want going to start up your business in different countries like China or Japan or Malaysia or like Singapore, okay, or Vietnam, I can say that. So what are the different things you would like to check it out internally, externally, factors you will consider in your mind uh, before you're doing the business? Like I'm talking about the feasibility study, things you're doing it at the different places.
uh, Usually it's the complaints. How do, like, if I'm actually going to expand my business to different areas or different countries, continents, what is the complaints that we have? I have a business model already. Okay, say I'm going to sell school software, but what are all the complaints that I have to go through to expand my business to a different country? For
Yeah,
example, if I'm,
good.
go ahead, Sandhu. Yeah.
Yeah, this is more around market research, right? I mean, whether my business will, um, I mean, will even run on that, I mean, market or not. For example, I mean, there are, uh, let's say, I mean, we are talking about Singapore. I mean, hypothetically, if Singapore already, I mean, Singapore government already provides um, education software to all their schools from the government, right? I mean, for example, right? In an hypothetical scenario, right? They don't really need a school software, right? So then it nullifies them. There is a market potential that's actually diminished altogether, right? So so we need to understand what is the current market there, okay? How the schools operate, whether they have a educational system that's supported by our software or not. So we need to understand the uh, ground rules there. I mean, we need to understand how the schools or in, education institutions in general, I mean, actually operate there. We need to understand that first, and then look at, I mean, okay, the potential. I mean, in terms of, how do we reach there? I mean, and all those things. So we have to start there, and then we have to actually go up, figuring out, okay, how do we do marketing there? What should be the, um, pricing model that we need to actually work out there? What is the government regulations in terms of actually, selling or buying in that environment? So all those aspects we need to start looking at. Uh, those are the things when we would start thinking about in those areas.
Okay, okay. And I would like to know that if you're going to open start a business, so how do you going to start? Yes, architecture designing is important for prospects for the target environment, target prospects. But how are you going to starting a project? Anything you
You will
would
have a project plan, right? You will have a project plan. First of all, I mean, the decision comes, okay, I as Senthil said, we did a market research first, okay, and then we have the business model, business scenarios created. The next step is to create a project plan. So how do I execute the things,
Mhm.
right? Execute things. So I have to have a project manager who can um, um, execute the project, like identify the next steps, next milestones, create a project plan, and do checks and balances from there. So PM project plan is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're really talking about, I mean, kicking off a project, I mean, or executing a project, it all starts from um, a project charter, a business charter, and a business requirement, right? So we need to have those documentation that comes from the business side first, and from that point, I mean, it's more about identifying stakeholders and all those. I mean, um, so that's how, I mean, execution of project would go. I mean, it's about, I mean, taking that, I mean, business requirements, converting into a resource management plan or a project management plan, um, completement, WBS structures, and all those things.
Okay, that's wonderful. So I'm talking about that the project initiation phase. Initiate. So in the
Hmm.
project initiation phase, you would like to uh, going to do, you know what, project planning I'm talking about here, right? So you want to
Hmm.
try to do make some more documentations altogether, everything more and more documentations I'm talking about here into the project initiation phase. And then with the second phase, you can say that you need to do some project controlling and monitoring. How are you going to control the projects? How do you monitoring the project? It's more important to understand that the controlling the projects, different tools, techniques, skills, requirement. And if you talk about some the monitoring prospect, so how do you monitor the progress? So do you require some Gantt charts, or you require some MS Visio reports, or you require some different tools to monitor the different things, and then you want to project closing is there. And if I'm talking about the operations, project operations and project management, so altogether it's a different things. Okay, the operations is more about you know what, things you can say that it's not never ending things. Okay, it will gonna be working, you know what, more and more. There's no end date is there for the operations of the project. But if you have some close starting and end date will be defined once you're going to starting at the project. So that is why I'm talking about in the more into the business processes. So different complex processes, you're going to see that if you are working in the oil and gas industries, in the manufacturing plants, in the production environment, okay, and in the aviation industries, you're going to go for the banking industries. So the processes are you know what, very complex sometimes. So uh, how do you going to handle the business processes, like I'm talking about the very important terms like uh, the list privileges, or I can say that how do you controlling the fraud detection things, how do you involve into the business processes, fraud detection or risk management things into the same. Any ideas, sir? This is a fraud, we will going to find it out, and this is going to be going to include into the business processes. So uh, that is why we're going to measure and deliverables we're going to doing it. So this is things I would like to know from your side, and the fraud detection into the in any environment, okay, in any domain. So how do you involve all those things into the business processes? Any
So, I mean,
examples?
yeah, I mean, our current job, I mean, we are in a chemical distribution um, domain, right? So, I mean, here, I mean, there are a couple of things. I mean, if you're looking at regulatory compliance sort of thing, for example, SOX, right? So, SOX introduces, I mean, checks and balances within the business process itself. Like Arvind was actually talking about, I mean, there should be, I mean, when in the coding process, there should be three different. It's mandatory to have three codes. I mean, before you actually, I mean, pick one code. I mean, how do we go about that? In our business, I mean, a person who is actually creating a customer account cannot actually place a sales order, because when you, or when an order is placed, it cannot actually flow through, end to end automatically. So there needs to be manual intervention verifying, where this order comes from, what is the quantity, and things like that. So there are checks and balances, manual checks and balances placed within the automation process. There are automation checks and balances that are placed within the manual process as well. So there are alerts set, at different stages of placing order or quoting process or sales process. So um, so there is always another set of eyes which actually looks at whether things are going in the right way or not. We have measures and KPIs actually set all along the way that will actually um, um, show up any outliers or any contradictions in terms of the processes, and then if the seller is doing it, a sales manager would be able to capture it and things like that. And all these reports are available at different levels across departments, so anybody can actually look at things. So that's how things actually happen in our organization. So risk management is critical, especially because we are actually dealing with chemicals. Uh, it is very sensitive, and it's a business regulated industry, so we have to be compliant on a lot of aspects here.
Okay, that's good. That's wonderful. So, yes, you are doing a TOGAF is good to go, but I would like to prefer that as a business prospect, okay, because you are right now going to do the things which I'm talking about here: business processes, business services, business functions. So you can say that you are a startup business. You are a okay. You are doing your own business or a startup business. Okay, you are the partnership field, or you can say that I'm the owner of the business. So as a owner of the business, it's important to understand the business architecture, business models, business tools, and business processes, functions, structure, okay, architecture, design, goals, and drivers. Yes, this is the things which is important and prospects for the TOGAF environment, because you are going to create in the business architecture. But what about some different things I'm talking about here? Like, so you going to open your own business, and the first things you need to be understand as a budget. Okay, budget allocations, how do you going to be allocate the business? So I'm going to try to tell you the things that how comfortable, how expert, or how much in-depth knowledge of all those things which we mentioned right now, because business architecture is not a simple thing. Okay, it's very complex environment once you're going to work in this field of business architecture. So the business architecture, it means that you're going to understand the business objectives, business goals, processes, services, auditing, or you can say rules, including like modifications, skill requirement, the architecture, designing, everything will be included it. Okay, so I'm talking about this as a TOGAF point of view. Yes, it's good to go that you need to understand the business prospects. But what about we talking about some the CISO mind map is the budget allocations. As a security professional, as a TOGAF professional, so you are concerned with the architecture design, it's good to go. But if you are, suppose you are your own business, okay, and you going to be creating all those things, I understand that you're going to be doing all those things. What about some other stuffs we're talking about here? So budget allocations, like I'm talking about the security project, business case development, return of investments, or RSOI, or element of IT projects, FTE contractors, balancing budget and people planning, and tools and technology. So how expert you are in the budget allocation? How expert into your monetary things? Because all those things are depend on the budget. So budget allocations, or we can the finance management, or your stakeholder management. So this is a very important thing. So in the budget business budget prospects, how comfortably you are, how do you say that I will going to getting the return on investment and the budget allocations in the finance management I'm talking about here. It's not a part of TOGA, but it's a part of your day-to-day life, that how do you going to be allocate the budget, or how do you going to be work as in your environment, because you are doing TOGAF and you have experience of 20 years, so it is possible that you are going to do your own business sometime later, or right now you're doing it. So the budget allocations is more important prospects. How do you going to allocate the budget? I will let you know the correct things once you tell me anything.
So in general, how our organization operates is, we start the budgeting process well ahead of time. So normally, for 2021, it actually started in July August timeframe of 2020, so something like that. So um, so the budget actually is is a combination of multiple departments. So each department comes up with their own budget. So basically, they actually have to provide, I mean, what their needs are in terms of, I mean, total dollars, right? So, and it's again talking, I mean, what are the new things that they want to do? What are the current operations that they still need to continue, and things like that. So, or maintenance. So there are different categories that each department will come up with. So they have to actually provide details around their budget. So um, and then, I mean, each department provides their own budget in that way. So all these, I mean, department wise budgets are actually combined together, and then we come up with the annual operating plan. uh, so this goes through an approval through the leadership, and or in our, I mean, in our current case, when it actually goes to our parent company, they actually review this, and then they either curtail the budget, or they actually start questioning, I mean, certain operations, certain projects, and things like that. So, and then it gets to a final stage. So that's where it goes. And then once you get into the actual operational year, um, it just doesn't stop there in terms of, when once a budget is approved, doesn't mean that money is actually freely available for them to consume. Every execution needs to actually go through an approval, I mean, from the leadership side, as well as from the financial team side, saying, okay, uh, why they need money to be released, and for what project, and whether the project is still viable, or I mean, whether it's okay to actually release money for that particular operation, and things like that. So that's how, I mean, we operate on this. And on top of that, I mean, every month there is a monthly operating report that actually comes out, which through which we actually compare between the forecasted budget versus the actuals, and any course correction in terms of the forecast for the upcoming months is also taken care of in that one. This happens by department as well. The finance team presides over this operation.
Yes. So the matter of fact that if you're talking the budget allocation, so the I'm talking about the different companies like enterprise companies have some. Um, uh, we have specific subject matter expert of the finance department. We understand, but as a company CEO or company CTO, it's more concerned that how you're going to allocate the budget. So uh, the matter of fact that how much investing your money is going to align the project as the company objectives or not, because you have what the budget allocation for the people or trainings, tools and technology. So how do you going to balance all those things? So you need to check it out, how do you going to what allocate the budget as per the requirement or different phases. So if you have a project manager, so we would say that if you going to what procuring anything, so that we have payments on the terms and condition, and as per the what we can say that a non-disclosure agreement, we going to doing it, we going to do some what legal things will also be added into the same. So this is what I'm talking about, the budget allocations, things like how cost effective solutions you're going to providing it is less number of money. And this is what we discuss. And there's so many things into the finance as well, but this is the more important prospects for your career in the IT prospect, information
Yeah,
technology
I mean,
point of view.
when it comes to, I mean, all the budget, I mean, preparation that I was talking about, this, I mean, the expectation from our organization is it should align with our, I mean, um, uh, the objectives of the five-year strategy plan that they already put in together, saying, okay, these are the objectives. I mean, this is where we want to actually see the organization, and then those 5 year is actually trickle down to 1 year plan, and they have clear objectives set, and I mean, whatever the team, each department is actually trying to provide should be aligned to the objectives. I mean, if it, and they have to say, okay, if they are picking up a new project or a new product that they want to actually purchase, where it actually aligns with which objective is something that they have to specify in their budget.
Yes, you're right. Okay, so that's good. Okay, then we have mergers and acquisitions. So acquisition risk assessment, integration costing, identity management. So in the TOGAF environment, you're talking about some architecture, designing, ADM, things like that. But once you're going for the business, okay, once you're going to do your business or you're the part of the business, this is the things you will getting it, okay, because mergers and acquisitions are is happened. Mostly companies are going to do mergers and acquisitions. So we have, what, integration costing, identity management. So as a security professional, suppose as a uh, TOGAF expert, okay, yeah, you are a solution architect designer. How do you say that your once the companies are mergers? So we have different entity of the business going to be merged with different entity of the business. So what are different risk factors, and what are the different challenges you're going to find it out, and what are the different agreements or the legal papers or compliances, or what's your point of view? I would like to know that once the business is going to mergers or acquisition point of view. So you have three things available: acquisition, risk assessment. So what are different risk once you're going to be acquisition and new companies, or you're going to mergers and things. Second thing is integration costing. So how do you say that what is the different costing also altogether once you're merging two different entities of business? And third one is identity management. How do you, what, going to be add different number of users, and how do you going to be creating the Active Directory, federation services, SSO single sign-on, or federation services I'm talking about here. How do you maintaining the identity and access management once the mergers or acquisitions? So what type of architecture designing? What's your point of view regarding the same? I'm talking about the business prospects. Then I will add something to you into the same. Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about
Yes,
it.
acquisition and mergers. I would like to know from your point of view that uh, uh, are you the part of all those things or not till now? Anything?
I mean, we are aware of that. I mean, we are never part of this. I mean, maybe I can actually try answering this in a hypothesis, right? So we are actually doing the school softwares, right? So let's say we actually identify a particular feature. I mean, for example, let's say the something like the Meet app, right? So that we have actually built. So if this is going to be available through a different organization, right? And we want to actually include that into our package, or for example, the uh, GPS, or uh, s- student tracking. I mean, is something that we want to actually do. I mean, IR code and things like that. So we want to actually integrate that. If there is a software that's already available, and that organization is actually ready to actually sell, first thing that we would like to actually see is whether that particular merger or an acquisition is in alignment to our objectives. That's where we want to actually start with. So um, if it is, let's say, if it's in alignment to our business objectives, let's say, in 2 or 3 years time frame, we want to actually build that feature into our product. And if this product is readily available and that's in alignment to what we want to actually do, um, if that's more in alignment to our objectives. Second thing we have to actually look at is financially it is viable for us to actually do that merger or an acquisition, right? So um, let's say financially we have we have the budget, then we'll be going about the negotiation process and other things. Now um, there are two aspects looking at. I'm talking about more from a product standpoint in terms of actually doing that. Normally merger and acquisition would also involve resources, right? Organization culture, business processes, whether it's in alignment to what we already have, how we operate internally. Those things are also have to be taken care of when it comes to these things. Um, so that's my take on that.
Okay. Business strategy. So these are some three things I mentioned right now. I remember. Just try to get some more ideas, because you are not right up to the mark on the three things. like TPRM, third party risk management. Anything idea?
Not really.
But because once you're going for the business, okay, or talking for anything, this is the, you know what, I can say that this all the terms which I mentioned over there, it is the things you are going to find out sooner or later once you go doing the solution architecture things. First thing, and second things, once the